Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, your next-gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, impressions, analyses, and roundtable discussions involving past, present, and future games. My name is Tony Morris, and today I'm joined by my newest co-host, Trey Dog.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right, he's here. So Wayne is actually he's taking the day off here for this episode because we are talking about Call of Duty. Who better than Trey to be here with us? So
Yes, sir.
yeah, before we dive right into this, Trey, we'll lay out what we're going to cover in today's episode. So this is set up to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare versus the new Black Ops Cold War. Right now, it's going to be mid-December. We're in that awkward transition period where both games are out, but not all the content is out yet for Cold War in regards to Season 1 and Warzone and what some of that looks like. So there's going to be some aspects of this we're not able to compare 100% at the moment, but we could still do some speculations and then go from there. Other things we're going to cover throughout today's podcast. Really, this is meant to be if you're one of those people that's out there and you've got Modern Warfare, you don't know if Cold War is worth the jump, or you're a buyer out there that just has taken a break from Call of Duty and hasn't been around in a while and you don't know which one to buy. Both communities are really, really active right now. There's really no wrong way to go. So this is really probably going to hopefully help you decide more than anything. We'll talk about the campaigns a little bit. We'll spend most of the time talking about multiplayer, the evolution of Warzone and what that's become. We'll talk a little bit about our own histories of Call of Duty because I know, Trey, you're also a huge fan of Call of Duty franchise, myself
Oh
as
yeah.
well. So that's going to be interesting to hear some of your background there too. We'll talk about zombies as well because we know that's a huge aspect of the new Cold War. And I can say we've both put some hours into each of these games already. I've spent probably most of my time in multiplayer games in the past year on Modern Warfare. But without further ado, let's just get into it. So,
Right.
Trey, what got you into the Call of Duty series? Where did you start? How did it evolve? And just take it from there.
All right. Well, for me, I started playing Call of Duty back in 2008 or 9. My uncle, he's the one that introduced me to the Call of Duty franchise. So yeah, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, that was like the game for me. And I figured that was probably a good time to jump into the series because I was 14 or 15 at the time. And yeah, I mean, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare was what really made Call of Duty what it is today. Like that is the granddaddy of Call of Duties. So
It truly is. And that was an Infinity Ward title. I guess I should mention
yes, it
too.
was.
So the two games we're talking about today, Modern Warfare, obviously is Infinity Ward, Black Ops Cold War coming from Treyarch, who also made like World at War, the Black Ops series, you know, the rest from there. But what was it about that? What was it about that game that drew you into it, Trey? I know at that point in time, being
Yeah.
that age, I know we were roughly the same age. The
Yeah.
games were still pretty social back then, right?
hmm
Probably in high school, everybody else is playing the game,
hmm
whether it be competitive or just for fun. Tell me more about those days.
Yeah, man. Like I just remember being just confused and excited all at the same time because it was a brand new experience. Like I never really played first person shooter games before that. It was always third person, action adventure games like Ratchet and Clank. But yeah, this is my first foray into first person shooters. So yeah, it was exciting and I just remember like how realistic that game was. Just you die so fast in that game, like two bullets and you're dead. And and just like, do you remember like the lobbies where people would just kind of trash talk each other
The
and stuff like
trash
that?
talk was more
Yeah,
intense in that game than any game in history.
that was that was yeah, that kind of brought me into the online world. Like, wait, this is what people actually do online? Like we're trash talking each other, talking about my mom? Wait a minute, I'm offended.
This is the talk that makes me a man.
Yes, yes. I'm glad I grew up in that era because it made me a hardened kind of gamer today. Like I don't get offended by anything now, So yeah, it was confusing and exciting at the same time.
That's good to hear. I'll say like where I started. I started actually with I don't know if a lot of people can say this, but I started with the original Call of Duty Finest Hour
Oh
all
boy,
the
old
way
school.
back on the GameCube, actually.
Oh,
And that
okay.
was my first foray into the series as well. Call of Duty. I wasn't new to first person shooters at the time. They were still relatively new to gaming, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
But I'd started that way back in the day. Previously, I'd played the Medal of Honors, Quakes, things like that.
Right,
and
right.
just other smaller first person shooter games that again weren't nearly as big as this was about to be. But Call of Duty Finest Hour, I still remember when Call of Duty 2 came out, it was split between the new Xbox 360 that was just coming out, and then there
Okay.
was back on the older consoles, because I was dirt poor at the time. I was a kid, like I'm not gonna go out and buy a new console. But I remember Call of Duty 2 to supplement those older consoles was Big Red 1, and
Okay.
that had come out. I'd played a ton of that on the PS2 and Xbox. And then eventually upgraded to the 360, got Call of Duty 2. I do remember vividly playing Call of Duty 2 and 3
Hmm.
online back in those days.
Yeah.
It was I wouldn't call it similar to Battlefield at that point in time, but it was holding its own. You had class layouts. It was kind of starting to lay the foundation for what you saw a lot of in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Right.
And then really after that, it blew wide open, like you said, with Call of
Yeah.
Duty. As we know, for Modern Warfare, it was insane. I remember
Yes.
the hype for it. I remember the beta coming out for it and playing the
Though
beta.
really.
Yeah, and
Oh
this is
wow.
before the game is even officially out, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it was just such a good time. The entire HUD to me blew me away. Even the
Hmm.
smaller details when you think of killing someone and you get XP for it
Yeah.
in a game, and you can see that XP at a bar at the bottom of your screen, which they've taken away since then. But
I
um,
actually like the bar.
you
So
like that little gold
yeah,
bar that was
yeah,
at the bottom of the
yeah,
screen? Yeah,
yeah.
same.
It just lets me know, hey, you're making good progress. Now it's just kind of happening in the background. Like you don't really know what you're doing to contribute to that. It's just automatic. But back then you can kind of see, okay, if I capture this point, I'm going up by this much. So yeah, I do kind of miss that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see leveling up in online shooters wasn't really that much of a thing back then. Sure, you had games where you leveled up, and MMORPGs were already out at that point.
Right.
But to see it to this scale was impressive, and it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
You think of like Juggernaut builds, classes, the Noob Tube. Who can forget
Oh
prestiging?
man. Yes. Yes.
Getting that
Yes.
gold icon after 10 prestiges was like the the most
Gold weapons
commendations.
too, man. Yeah.
Yeah, gold weapons. All those things were so new at the time.
Yeah.
And that game really, like you said, blew it wide open. But after that, what were some of your personal highs and lows in the series? Because we've had so many entries in the Call of Duty
Yes.
series since that time.
Yes.
I would have never imagined if I rewinded the clock 10, 15 years ago that we would be at this stage in 2020 where COD is still at the top of the mountain,
Hmm.
as far as, sales, player count, everything else.
A lot of that has to do with the rebound of Modern Warfare 2019. That saved the franchise. But, you know, apart from that, I would say my high point in the series has to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That game,
Nice.
that game just kind of built upon what made Modern Warfare, the original, so great. And I just think every Call of Duty game since then hasn't been able to match the combat flow and the creative choices that Modern Warfare 2 had. I think War just nails Call of Duty every single time. Maybe they didn't do such a good job on Modern Warfare 3, but I still think Modern Warfare 2 is just like an absolutely mind-blowing game. Like, dude, chopper gunners, AC-130s, the intervention, quick scoping, and akimbo shotguns. Like, oh my god, just there's so many just ridiculous aspects about that game that almost broke it, but at the same time, it just made it just an absolutely fun game to play. Like, yeah, there's so many memorable moments from Modern Warfare 2, and a lot of frustrating ones too. Like, I I don't want to get into any details, but let's just say I ejected the disc from my PS3 several times and just chucked it down the hall because I was so mad at that game, man. But I still look fondly upon Modern Warfare 2. It's like the high point in the series for Call of Duty.
Wow, how about that? And I mean,
Yeah,
that game introduced so many good maps we still see today. I think of like
yeah,
Rust,
yes.
where that's still like one of the most beloved maps in the entire Call of Duty franchise. High Rise Terminal.
Oh my God.
I'm looking at some of these. There's
Uh,
just so many great maps that came out really throughout the series, but that game in particular introduced a lot.
yeah, I love me some Modern Warfare 2, man. I still go back and play it on the PS3 from time to time. And just if you don't believe it, like there's actually lobbies still out there. Of course, some of them are going to be modded, but you can still play
Right?
Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox 360 and PS3. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that just tells you how these things stand the test of time. That's incredible. I
yes,
mean, gosh, any low points out there for you in the COD series? Were there ever times where, because again,
yeah,
over the years, I know personally, there's been times where I've fallen off the wagon or thought this year just ain't for me,
yeah.
and that was okay. But what about you? Any lows throughout the series?
Well, the low point, it was almost Modern Warfare, but they made a huge rebound. So that game is, it's kind of teetering on the edge, but it made a huge rebound. Probably the low point for me is gonna be Black Ops 4. That game was just absolutely just terrible. Like
Fair.
from the fact that they didn't want to include a campaign because they say that people didn't play the campaign. Just that kind of just blew it for me. And then the multiplayer wasn't that good. The zombies wasn't that good. I just think it was like the multiplayer was too like esports focused at the time. Like they weren't really focusing on the casual base as much, which is kind of what I am. I'm a casual. I don't
I wouldn't call you a casual.
you
I'd
don't
say
think I'm a
I'd say
casual?
you're above casual at this point. I mean,
Okay.
I'd say you're pretty good
When
at COD if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a 2 OKD in most of those games, but when I mean when I mean casual, I mean I don't like religiously play that game every day to like
Right.
figure out all the head glitch spots and stuff. I just play it to have fun, and maybe I do get a little competitive at the time, but you know, yeah, maybe casual is the wrong word to use there, but yeah, but
But Black Ops 4 being the low point then.
yeah, it was there were just too many problems with that game. Just too many design choices that I thought weren't that good. From like the health being 150 and it
Yep.
didn't. I think it had the manual regen of health and stuff like that. But yeah, it just didn't hold a candle for me. Like just no interest in game modes. The heist mode was interesting for a minute, but didn't really hold me.
Yeah. Yep. I feel that. I mean, I'll say for me, the highs and lows of the series, highs, definitely the modern warfare side of things. World
Hmm.
at War, I still wish we'd get,
Yes. Yes.
I guess we kind of had a visit in that time with the World War II game that came out.
Yeah.
Can't honestly say I enjoyed it that much, but
Oh man, I'm gonna
yeah,
have to disagree on that one.
that's okay. And maybe it was just I didn't give it a fair shot. I'd seen the World War II one through from
Mhm.
beta into the game, and I couldn't get into it. Maybe it's just because I was playing other games at the time with different mechanics and it never clicked. But
Right, right.
that happens sometimes too. But other highs for me, I'd say early World at War again.
Hmm.
The early Black Ops series 1 and 2, incredible.
Yes, yes.
Peak Call of Duty games.
Oh, really? Peak. Ooh,
Yeah, I'd go as far as to say peak. Yeah, I mean, I love
Ooh.
the Modern Warfare series too, 1, 2, and 3. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for me, that was just such a great time in gaming, especially with the introduction of zombies and things like that
Yes,
that really
yes.
broke it up.
Yeah,
Um,
I could have put World at War as my favorite because that game introduced me to zombies and that whole aspect of it. Because honestly, I probably do play a little bit more zombies than I do multiplayer. But yeah, I totally agree with World at War. I don't know about Black Ops 1 and 2 being the peak, but yeah, definitely. I don't know, man. Just I've never been a huge fan of the multiplayer for Treyarch, like the arcade style that they always go for. I've always will prefer the more realistic modern shooters that Infinity Ward and the rest have put out. So
right. Dang, how about that? Well, that's okay.
yeah,
That's okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I know the Call of Duty audience is usually pretty well split. Between Infinity Ward and Treyarch games, and now I know we've got Sledgehammer in the mix.
yeah.
I'll say, actually, speaking of that, my low point in the series would probably be Advanced Warfare.
Okay.
Some of the later, I'd say entries, like I think World War II was a low for me.
Mm,
Call of Duty Ghosts, I really despised that game. I think that was a launch into the next gen, and
yeah,
I probably put more hours into it than I should have, but I just did not like it.
yeah,
Um, and then there was, like you said, the latter Black Ops games, like I think Black Ops 3 and 4. Just again, never clicked with me. Still grinded them out, but did not
yeah.
enjoy them. So
It was probably more that 3D movement for you that you didn't like, right?
yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things too. I mean, if I'm looking at that, maybe the 3D side of things. If I'm looking at Advanced Warfare, the introduction of like wall running and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm not going to go out on just say like I'm this uber old gamer where I just can't keep up
yeah.
with that stuff. But it genuinely did feel too fast paced at the time when you had things like Halo 3 was still kind of out there, Halo 4 was being introduced.
Yeah,
I don't think I was ready for that level of fast pace where
same.
way younger kids got in there and absolutely beat my ass to the point
Yeah.
where I didn't enjoy it.
I don't blame you. It's kind of a weird thing to be shooting up at somebody like that's above you. Like you're more like looking at targets like at a horizontal plane. Now you gotta look up. It's just didn't really. Yeah, I got used to it in Black Ops 3, but I would never be comfortable with shooting at a target that's like floating above me. Like that's just
Right.
weird. So
Yeah, like I mean, even in the campaigns when you shoot drones and things like that, I just hate looking up to shoot. I hate verticality in games sometimes, and it's not a
yeah.
bad thing, but maybe I'm just a simp and I need things to be easy for me. Handed to me in a shooting gallery format in the campaign, but
I don't
um,
blame you.
yeah, but I mean, those are some of my highs and lows too. So again, we know there's Infinity Ward out there with the Modern Warfare series, everything they've been doing there. We've got Treyarch as well, responsible for some gems like you'd mentioned, World at War, the Black
Mhm.
Ops series as we know it today. And we're just going to duke it out between both these games because both you and I have easily put triple digits hours into one of these. The other one hasn't really been out long enough yet to, I don't think, get to the triple digit point in time.
Right.
But again, there's still a ton of playtime in both. I guess we could just really talk about the transition period we're in right now, right? Because this is a
Right.
unique point in time, I think, for Call of Duty, where when you fire up the launcher, especially if you're on PC, you see Black Ops, you see Warzone, and you see Modern Warfare all as three separate entities in the same program, which is insane to think about.
Right.
So with that transition period going on, we know that it's too early to say what this looks like, but it's about a week and a half or so from now. We'll see the introduction of season 1 for Black Ops Coldwar
Yep.
in the Warzone format. And again, if that includes Battle Pass, other things like that, we'll see what it looks like, but we can't judge that. Anything else to say about the transition period, Trey? I know there's just so much going on. We've got guns carrying over, um,
Yeah.
other
Um,
stuff.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous, a little concerned for Warzone 'cause I know a lot of people enjoy that game, and Infinity Ward, yeah, they definitely nailed it. I'm just hoping that with the new introduction of these weapons and stuff into their engine, it doesn't, break the game in certain aspects. Because Modern Warfare, Warzone on PC, they do have some kind of game-breaking bugs. I don't know if you've seen that with the camos, like your gun was kind of like glitch out and you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we still have that issue sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yes. I'm just hoping that, everything launches in a clean, perfect state for everyone to kind of judge the new content fairly rather than looking at the bugs. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's crazy to think too. We've had about a year or so. I mean, less than a year for Warzone, but for Modern Warfare itself, you've had about a year for that to bake in the oven. They're still balancing things. We went through that phase where, um, excuse me, the Origin shotgun was just way OP.
Yeah.
Way too overpowered. You had times where the Renettis, the Snake Eyes,
Oh, yeah.
can't forget those, where people could just dominate you way too quickly, and they weren't balanced. And
Yeah.
we're still going through that phase, even a year later, right? Where it's a lot
Yeah.
better, but I feel like introducing all these new weapons at once is definitely, I mean, how do you balance it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and then it's just crazy, like with the so like, are we gonna have two AK-47s? Like what? Like, how does that
because
work?
because the
Two.
AK that's in Warzone is pretty different from the one that you hold in Cold War, correct?
Yes, I think the rate of fire is a lot higher on the Cold War one, and
Yep.
uh, I think there's less kick on the AK in Cold War. So I don't know how they're gonna balance that. Like the AK in Cold War is like absolutely incredible. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what carries, what doesn't, and what just gets either taken out or changed completely.
Right.
Other things to note with that transition too. I mean, gosh, like I said, so many things that we haven't seen precedented in Call of Duty's franchise before, where you've got Treyarch and Infinity Ward again running out of the same house. You've got a brand new game in the form of Black Ops Cold War that's out right now, and they're still saying, you know what, we're going to keep the old engine that they're using
Mhm.
from Infinity Ward's title and use that in Warzone and keep it going forward and use that for season 1. Which is strange. That's never happened, I don't think, in Call of Duty's
Right.
history before. To keep the old title and maybe not make it compete with the new title, because again, it's free. People just want to keep playing Warzone, but to pump it up alongside a title that's just been released from Treyarch, they've got to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many players are gonna stick around when the new content drops for Warzone, but I think the expectation is people are gonna definitely make that transition over to Warzone because I don't think people really enjoy the 6v6 as much. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting transition period because I think going forward, they definitely need to release more 6v6 maps and more content for that to keep people coming back to the traditional Call of Duty experience. So
Right, that's true. And I mean, it's too early to see player counts right now, but It's going to be interesting to see what that player count looks like a month or two from now.
Yes.
As we enter 2021. And hey, did a lot of people jump ship for Cold War? Did a lot of people just choose to stay? Because I guess we'll get into that today on if it's worth staying or not, right?
Right.
And this is probably more so than any point in Call of Duty's history. More arguable either way for jumping ship to Cold War, whether it's because it's the new thing that everybody just wants to play, or if it's actually a good game and it's better than Modern Warfare and it's worth jumping ship for.
Right. I think this is going to be a defining point, kind of like how Battle Royale was for Call of Duty last year. This is definitely going to be like a make it or break it type thing. So hopefully they make it.
let us hope. But let's dive into it, I guess. So we're going to talk again about the evolution of Warzone and what that looks like.
Sure.
Again, we can't really speak to that from Treyarch's side just because they're not touching that until a couple weeks from now. It'll be interesting to see what they do, but again, just too early to tell. So we'll talk about how that has evolved in the game, but we're going to talk about the key differences between Black Ops Cold War and Modern Warfare and what those look like in multiplayer. We'll talk about the mechanics, the gameplay, the maps, the guns, the battle pass, everything you want to know about these two games. We put enough time into where we can actually form, I think, a pretty decent opinion given our backgrounds of the franchise,
Yeah.
and go from there. We'll touch briefly on the campaign, and I'll be honest, I don't think that's really a major selling point these days as much anymore.
Mm.
I know there's people out there that play it, but really you're getting that super action-packed shooting gallery that everybody has known and loved. But we'll still touch on the campaign too, and then zombies. We'll talk about that independently because that's obviously not a thing with Modern Warfare. So let's just dive into this, Trey.
Okay.
Warzone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Warzone.
So we're on season 6 now of Warzone. This came out in
Yes.
March of 2020.
Yes.
At the height of the pandemic, when everybody was just kind of starting to go into quarantine. Here in New York, we were starting to, and this game came out at the perfect time because Modern Warfare, I believe, launched in November, but the Warzone edition of it didn't come out till March.
I think
And
it was October, I think.
October, yeah.
2019. Yeah.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, gosh, to think it's been that long, we're already on season 6 of it. We've seen the Warzone format evolve so much of that 150 players bouncing all the way down to the last man standing on that huge map we know as Verdansk.
Yes.
Season 1, obviously, brand new game, your typical battle royale we've known and loved. 150 players jumping out of a plane, fighting on the
Yep.
map over different circles until those eventually get smaller and smaller. Last team standing wins, right?
Right.
Now, this Warzone introduced some awesome concepts that were totally new at the time. I haven't seen in games before. Maybe they're out there in some unknowns, but I just haven't heard of them prior. I think of things like the Gulag, right?
Right.
Where it's like a Russian
Oh boy.
prison where, yeah. So, just to kind of give us a background to that, if for those that don't know it and maybe just haven't been in COD for a while, again, if you haven't played Warzone, check it out. It's free. You got nothing to lose for it except a ton of hard drive space. But
There you go.
the Gulag is basically if you're out there in Warzone, you're on the map, you get shot, you get killed, you die. You get one chance at redemption. You go into what's called the Gulag automatically. You go in there with other players that have been killed on the map. It's a 1v1. You're going to fight with a random weapon. And whoever wins that battle in that little prison-esque locker room looking area wins. And you battle it
Yeah.
out, and if you win, you get to parachute back on the map however you want to. And you go from there. You can either jump in a lander team, go do your own thing, just dive something, whatever that looks like, you can do it.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Gulag this time around, Trey? Because that was new for the entire COD community and was just such a cool addition.
I think the Gulag was a cool addition to Call of Duty because like tell people, I'm not big on Battle Royale because you get one life. But okay, now you get two. You got the Gulag. And actually I think you get multiple, right? Like if you die and the Gulag is still open, you can come back. So you get multiple lives, right?
Yeah, I don't think you come back to the Gulag multiple times, but you can be bought
Oh,
back multiple
you
times. Yeah.
bought back. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I still think the Gulag was an interesting addition because yeah, you get to just duke it out 1v1. That's kind of like the Call of Duty style, Yeah, hey, 1v1 me, bro, like that type of thing.
Yeah, maybe that's a nod and a testament to that, right?
Right. And it was cool because like I guess when you're not battling, like if you are in the Gulag and not battling, you could like throw rocks at the opponent and stuff. And I seen this one clip where somebody like threw a rock at a C4 that the guy had planted down and he accidentally killed the guy. So it's crazy. I'm so glad they introduced that Gulag system. It was a good addition to kind of get people like me who don't traditionally enjoy that kind of one life aspect to get in there and try Warzone. So
That's a good point because I'm in the same boat as you where I absolutely just hate dying and watching my teammates for 50 minutes. I know a lot of people can do that. I'm one of those I just can't. It's just It drives me insane. Even in Warzone as it is right now, where your teammates can buy you back, I'm like, please, bro, when you get that 4,000, please buy me back right now because I can't wait any longer. And don't buy a UAV because I suck. But
Oh my god.
there's that. So Gulag was a great addition.
Yeah.
Buybacks, obviously, you've got loadout drops, contracts, which they've added some new ones throughout. Like Most Wanted was a new addition throughout the seasonal updates, where one person grabs a contract, everybody on the map can see that person for 3 minutes, and if anybody else happens to kill that person, they get an extra chunk of money. But if that one person lives that everybody else can see, then they happen to bring back all their teammates automatically from the dead. They will res every single one of them. Just a cool aspect, right? I mean,
I agree, because a lot of times, like I say, with battle royale games, like I don't like them because they're kind of like slow and campy, but these contracts kind of get people moving and grooving on the map. So I think that was a good addition to entice players to move around, because it is a huge map. And even with 150 players, I still think it's kind of like a small count. Like I think that it played better with 200. But yeah, the contracts definitely help get people out there and shooting and stuff. So
yeah, I think you're right. It keeps people from camping too. It rewards the incentive, the idea of moving around a lot more. There's other contracts too outside of Most Wanted's, like what am I trying to say
the
here? Like
intel,
maybe intels, bounties, search and scabs, we call them that, where you go out and pick up as many crates as you can. There's 3 of them. They come up in different locations.
right?
There's some other ones, recons, where they give you different circles on the map and tell you pretty much where the next one's going to be. Just a lot of cool contracts out there.
I always like doing the more passive ones because I don't want to be aggressive and go after somebody and get killed. So
yeah, you pick up that bounty, and it's if they're holed up in a house in the middle of nowhere, you're like, man, I really got to push this.
Yeah, and I know I'm gonna get third partied if I go after that contract. So I'm just gonna like just kind of hang back. If it's like a Most Wanted contract, I'm gonna just hang back because I don't want to get jumped on by another team. So
so true. And there's nothing more terrifying than having that bounty show up over your head, and it'll actually be like, hey, you're being hunted by another team, and it'll tell you as they move closer in proximity, the threat meter will go up a little bit, and you're like, oh my god, they're in my house, help.
Yeah, I just kind of fetal position, just in the corner, just waiting.
That's all you can do. Or run for your life, either one.
Running never works for me. I always die.
There's a contracts, and there's just so many things in 6 seasons. I won't touch on every single one, but I guess some of the highlight pieces, at least for me, one, they opened up the stadium, right? Where in season 1 there was this huge giant football stadium where you could walk around it, you could be on the roof, but yeah, they added it to where, hey, you can actually get on the roof of this bad boy and sit up there, camp, whatever you want to do. They added zip lines so you could get up to vertical areas way easier. What else did they add? Trains, the metro system, not used by a whole lot of people. I use it pretty frequently because I hate running in the open, but they added that. What else was there? The Haunting of Verdansk for Halloween.
That was probably the best.
Yes, that was the greatest, I think, update they could have possibly done. That's something I had actually, I think, on something we did maybe back in September. I had thought, like, hey, that'd be a cool idea if they took the Warzone concept and made it zombies. And sure enough, not even like 4 weeks later, bam. And I was just so thrilled to see that implementation of zombies, and it worked well, didn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the most Warzone I ever played, is when that new content dropped, the Haunting of Verdansk. I played so much Warzone, and that was just incredible. So in that game mode, I think if you die, you become a zombie. But if you are a zombie, you get to hit other players, and you collect these vials. If you get more vials, then you get to respawn as a player. So it's kind of this chaotic, frantic mode where zombies and humans are fighting each other. I thought that was incredible to play.
Yeah, that's so true. It was so cool in the aspect that the zombies were, I'm not going to call them OP, but they definitely had strength in numbers.
Oh, dude, they were strong.
It was more terrifying in that game because you're being chased by like human zombies, like people controlling them, than it was in like, a normal zombies game, right?
Like in, I think Blackout, they had zombies in there, but they were just like the AI zombies. Not really as scary, but when you have a human controlling that thing, oh man.
And it had 2 abilities, right? It had the EMP, and I think gas. They could throw it to disorient you.
Yes, that gas was so annoying, man.
And they could super jump too, all kinds of cool stuff. But am I missing anything with Warzone editions? I know there's just so much they added. throughout these 6 seasons. And I won't touch on every single one, but those to me were the highlights for sure.
Yeah, I think you definitely got them all. Yeah, definitely the main ones. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think the stadium was like one that I kind of glossed over a little bit because it's kind of like in Fortnite, the tilted towers where everyone lands there and just
Oh
this
yeah.
chaos. I basically skipped going to the stadium because I knew I was gonna die if I landed there. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully them opening up, they gave that everybody a little bit more of a chance because they didn't just open it up like here's a football field, good luck. I mean, it's like really well done. They've got an upstairs, they've got a basement under it. They've got
yeah,
the entire stadium is just super fleshed out, even on the field.
it's
Um, I,
bigger than I thought.
it really is. Yeah, they did way more with it than I expected them to. So
Yeah,
huge props for that.
yeah,
But yeah, geez. As far as Warzone goes, we might be getting another map. Some say here in a few days,
yeah.
which
I
would
heard that.
which will be interesting to see. I wouldn't mind personally if it was brand new in just a totally different climate environment. Whether
Mhm.
that's night, whether that's they kind of already done that. I don't know, maybe like snow, desert. There's so
Yeah.
much jungle. There's so many ways they could go with this, right?
I actually think I don't know if it's true, but there's been rumors that Alcatraz from Black Ops 4 is coming back for Warzone.
How about that?
Yeah, and that for people that don't know that, it's definitely a smaller map. It's like I can't even describe it. It's smaller than you think, and I don't know how many players they're gonna have on it, but I think they're gonna bring back that map for the new season of Warzone, and I think it'd be more like a respawn kind of mode where I guess the last person standing in the circle wins kind of thing. Not exactly sure, but I think they're gonna go with that rather than a big expansive map like Verdansk, which probably takes more time to develop. So we could potentially see something like that in the future. But I think the rumor is going to be true that a smaller map like Alcatraz is going to come back.
Wow, and I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah,
Again, so much potential. Who knows? Could be Alcatraz. Hope it is. That'd be cool.
yeah.
But I guess we'll stay tuned and find out on that. I guess one last thing I should mention about Warzone before we dive right into the multiplayer is, favorite aspect of it. There is nothing to me in the entire gaming community right now better than winning a match in Warzone.
Yes. Yeah.
When you get to that, the top of the hill, you've beaten 150 other people,
Hmm.
a ton of other teams. You make it, you get that last kill, you down them, you finish them one more time if they get a self res, and that's it. You get that
Yep.
big Warzone flashes across the screen, victory, the big blue banner, and then I don't know about you, Trey. This catches me off guard every time. I almost don't know if it's by design or what, but when you win a match in Warzone, um, you're sitting there, and then you can like actually hear the other teams and stuff like that in the lobby right
Mm.
afterwards. Think for that
Yep.
20-second countdown, and everybody is generally pretty cool. Like
Hmm.
in that last little moment of like, that team won. Man,
Yeah.
good shot. That was close. And there, I have only heard trash talking in there a handful of times. But generally,
Okay.
people are pretty cool about it, and they're just like, man, you outplayed me there, whatever. And that's so unique to me because you do not get that in games very much anymore these days.
That's probably more of a PC thing than anything. Uh, I play on PS4 and PS5, but yeah, we're most of the time we're in a party, so we can't hear the game chat. But yeah, I would imagine if we would go in there, it probably would be pretty positive if people were talking. But that's just speculation. I don't know because we know how players can get on Modern Warfare when they lose. I have
That's true.
several videos on that on my channel. So
Nice. Yeah, and I guess gosh, but before we move into multiplayer here, any last words on Warzone?
I have one win and that's it. So
Hey, there you go. Take what you can get. I know you're primarily in multiplayer, so
yeah,
that'd be good to hear your thoughts here. Then, so diving into multiplayer, obviously, probably more divisive than we've ever been on Call of Duties at this point, right?
yes,
Again, we've got Infinity Ward's 2019 Modern Warfare. We've got the brand new Black Ops Cold War, newest entry in the series, new kid on the block. Certainly, neither of these companies are rookies by any means because they've both been churning out the CODs forever at this point. But
right.
what were your initial impressions like so far, Trey, of the new Cold War after playing the new Modern Warfare for the better part of a year now?
Hmm.
You've had time to go over that. It's been baking
Yep.
in the oven. This new Cold War comes out from Treyarch. Obviously, there's always some differences. But for you, what were the initial impressions like so far once you dove out there?
My initial impressions on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War multiplayer is two words for you: hot garbage. That game. Yeah. I
Wow.
just I really don't like Cold War multiplayer. Like it is just unbalanced, it's not fun, and it just keeps reminding me of why I kind of strayed away from Call of Duty in the past. It's really a huge miss for me, and I think part of the reason, which we might get into later, part of the reason is they're developing for multiple generations now. So we have the PS4, PS5, two Xboxes. So we kind of had the same situation with Ghosts, where it was in that development hell where where they're stretched thin on their resources, and then they got pushed up a year as well. So
Right.
I get them for that. Like that's understandable. But right now, multiplayer, hot garbage, dude.
Wow. How about
Yeah,
that? So, I guess playing devil's advocate here, as far as balancing goes, that was the first thing you mentioned about it being unbalanced, right?
yeah.
How would you say the balancing is for Cold War out of the gate compared to Modern Warfare's launch out of the gate? Because I can recall some pretty staunch, I guess you could call it balancing issues for both at this point.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, Modern Warfare, they did have some kind of like the M4 was super powerful when
Right.
Modern Warfare first launched, and they kind of toned it back since then. But
And
yeah,
I
it's
guess I should say there's always balancing issues in every game
y-
you play out there right out of the
right,
gate, right? I mean that's
right,
just how multiplayer games are.
right. Yeah, players tend to gravitate towards certain weapons, and then the developers they take notes on that, and kind of tweak some things in the background. But that takes time, and that's kind of what this game needs is more time. Um, I think what makes it not fun for me is the lack of content, the lack of game modes. Um, I mean, they do have like new modes like VIP Escort, which is it's kind of like a searching the story, but with a human. Like you got to defend your VIP from getting killed. You got to extract them.
Yeah.
That was fun for a minute, but honestly, it didn't hold me. I can kind of get into more of that in a different video, but ever since World War II came out with that kind of war mode gameplay, I don't know if you played that. Like
Yep.
nothing's been able to hold a candle for me since that point. But yeah, but more on Cold War. They have Fire Team Dirty Bomb, which is like a new mode, kind of like a Warzone plunder thing.
Yep.
Doesn't really hold it for me. Like that, it's just too chaotic. Not It's just not enough content and variable kind of game modes for me to jump into a multiplayer.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I'll say my initial impressions of Black Ops Cold War, not too different, which is a
Yeah,
shame to say because I've always been an Infinity Ward guy, or Treyarch guy myself, but
yeah,
um, not the best multiplayer on the planet. I thought this was probably one of the weaker entries in the entire series. If I'm gonna pull myself out third person and look at the entire COD franchise and just see where this game fits in that entire series, it's probably on the lower end for me, honestly.
yeah.
Multiplayer, just it felt, and I played the beta too. I wanted to get a head start on it, and I gave that a fair shot too. I've actually played, so I guess I should mention, I've played Black Ops Cold War in two stations. I played it on the PlayStation 4 during the beta,
Hmm.
and I also played it the full version here on PC when that's come out. So I've had a chance to play it on both. Beta on PlayStation 4, I was not impressed at all. But
Same.
again, that's happened in previous COD games, and they've been able to turn it around by the time the game came out. So I had that same kind of faith with this one. They had about a month between, and the beta, again, was just not good for me. Left a bad taste in my mouth by the time it was all said and done. I think you had a few maps on those two ships. I forget the name of the map. You had Miami,
Yeah.
and maybe a couple others out there, the snow map. But
I don't know if Cartel. I think Cartel was in the beta. I think the
I think it might have been. I can't recall.
yeah, same. But yeah, no, I've been telling my friends, we basically paid $70 when we paid full price to basically beta test this game. Like this game is clearly not ready, man, and they needed like so much more time. I say if I was Activision, I would give them at least like another 4 to 6 months of development time, because the real Cold War doesn't start until the season one launch. That's when the microtransactions come out, the season pass, and all the
Yeah.
new content, the new maps. Like that's really when the game starts.
And
So,
right now
uh,
it's kind of empty without it. So this game came out in
yeah,
November. We're sitting in December now with only a handful of like literally a handful of maps.
yeah, I think
Um,
8.
yeah, like I mean, which is low. I would like to
Yeah,
say for a COD game.
Yeah.
Especially considering what's been out on previous things. And I know, if it's anything like Modern Warfare, where we just got a ton of great maps for free, this
Yep.
isn't like the old days of Call of Duty where if there was DLC to be had with new maps, you had to pay for that pack, right?
Right.
Those days seem to be gone, which I think is huge by Activision in
Yes.
general. That's a step forward for them. I
Yes.
wouldn't expect it out of them, but I'm glad they're doing that and going that route. You do have to pay for Battle Pass, but that's a different story. Um, Other things to note, I guess, as far as initial impressions go on this game, as far as Cold War, it just feels we could just dive into the mechanics. Then it just
Sure.
feels goddamn clunky. And
Yes.
I don't know what it is about it. Again, I've tried it on the PlayStation, I've tried it on the PC, mouse and keyboard and controller at this point, and it just doesn't feel right to me. I can't pinpoint what it is. I know it's running off of an older engine too from a previous
Mm.
entry in the Black Ops series.
Yep.
In some senses, this does feel like a Black Ops game, which is good.
Yes.
But that may not be a good thing, because if your game feels like it's 10 years old, it probably is leaning towards, again, for your players at least, feeling like they've gone back 10 years in time, and not in a good nostalgic way. But what the fuck is this? It's 2020. This game shouldn't feel like it came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, we've been spoiled by the updated engine that Modern Warfare has. It's definitely a more refined engine, and just be glad that they're using that for Warzone and not the one that we currently have in Cold War, because it'd be a absolute just dumpster fire if they did. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it just, yeah, like I say, yeah, it does feel like it needs some more time. Like I feel like the sliding mechanic, which has always been in Black Ops, maybe not Black Ops One, they had the dolphin dive, but the
Right.
sliding
Dolphin dive,
mechanic,
never forget.
yeah, yeah. Who actually use that? I don't know. Maybe in zombies, but that's a last ditch effort there. But yeah, no, the sliding, just like, I don't know. I feel like they definitely toned it back in the alpha, in the beta, when the full game launched, but it just felt like, I don't know, like it's just too cheesy. I would say, like, you don't have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's not a lot much you can do about it when somebody's sliding around a corner. Like, it's kind of hard to
Yep.
track your target when that's happening. And I know they did have that in Modern Warfare, but it was easier to stay locked on when somebody was sliding around. This game just feels, yeah, like you say, 10 steps back, or like 10 years back. It's not what we expected out of a 2020 game.
Right, absolutely, and yeah, the $70 price point too. I mean, it's hard to. I'm not going to get in the argument of
Yeah,
like if it should be justified for games in general. Personally, I think as games become more expensive to develop, I'm all for paying more. I'm fine with it.
that's a whole different
But
podcast.
yeah, yep. but this game in itself, I just $70. That's a steep hike.
Yeah,
We'll get more into the modes and maybe the maps, some other fun stuff. The guns, obviously, we're going to spend some time chatting about that.
yeah, the guns.
But let's talk about, I guess, some of the key differences, maybe some additions or some removals between these two. I'll say for me, the biggest disappointment out of this one, as far as what's missing in this version. And again, to be fair, it's fucking hard to follow 2019's Modern Warfare, because it just did so many things right, at least in
Yeah.
my book. And again, I know there could be differences of opinion out there, which is fine. Some people just prefer Treyarch style of games, and that's okay. But I thought this game did so many things right, introduced a lot of new mechanics. One of those being maybe not new, but at least perfected it in my mind, was wall mounting a weapon.
Yes. Yes.
That's gone. That's completely gone in every sense of the word in the multiplayer here. And how you can have something that's that, I guess you could call it fundamental in the gameplay now, to
Mhm.
take that away, or just
Yeah.
not even consider putting it in. How the fuck do you do
Right.
that?
Yeah, dude. Like, I do enjoy the wall mounting, and I know why they put it in there. It's definitely like more of a realistic kind of movement, like a more realistic action that you can do. But for me, I think that was more in line to help the casual players, because your gun literally turns into a laser beam. Like, I'm kind of glad it is gone, but at the same time, I do miss being able to mount, because it was so easy just to hose people, across the map with like AK, because you have basically no recoil. And yeah, I mean, that's gone from the game.
And what's your
But
play style, Trey? I guess I should ask this. I'll throw mine out there. Very much
yeah,
run and gun. I don't camp a lot. Very, very much run and gun, in your face, aggro.
yeah,
It's just my play style. What about yours?
I would love to run and gun, but it just doesn't work in these new games now. I don't know what it is, man. Like, I used to run and gun in like Black Ops 2 and 1 and stuff like that, but Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War, I just have to play back. I have to hold my position in a certain area and just kind of pick people off because maybe I lost my thumbs. That's entirely
I
possible.
lost
Like
my
I just
thumbs.
I just can't get people up close, and when I do, like I either get shotgunned. I just feel like I get the just the worst luck, or how we call it, the Call of Duty timing. Like when you move, like if you try to hold a position and then you move, and then when you weren't expecting the person to come out, you just get killed. And
Yep.
so yeah, I would like the running gun, but I'm more of like a hang back, maybe hold this B flag for a little while.
Nice, no shame.
Yeah,
So that's good to hear. I mean, what other I guess additions or takeaways where there's so many. I'll say one thing that I really like that Cold War added. So I'll give a plus out there for Cold War.
yeah,
So Black Ops Cold War, they added voting back into the multiplayer lobbies,
yes,
which
yes.
I thought was long overdue. I immediately, as soon as I jumped into Modern Warfare in 2019, that was one of the first thoughts I had was, why the hell am I not able to vote on a map? And they
Yeah,
still haven't added it, which maybe that's by design. That's okay.
I think it
Um,
is.
yeah, but having that back in Cold War, I like it. But to an extent, it's not great because there's not a lot of maps to choose from. And again, it all boils down to opinion and freedom of choice, which is a great thing. But God damn it, every time there's an option to vote between Cartel and Miami, every motherfucker out there votes for Miami. And I hate that map.
I hate
Um,
Miami. Yeah.
that's a horrible map. My
we
God.
can we can get into the map section, but
Yep.
yeah, I'm glad they did. I'm glad that they did introduce map voting back into the game. But one thing I wish they did bring back from Order CODs is once the match is over, you stay in that lobby with the same players. And Cold War, they didn't capitalize on that this year as well. I kind of like having that rivalry between players. You get to learn each other's play style and stuff. Now it's just the match is over. Okay, we got to requeue and yeah, find a new batch of players. And that also kind of contributes to having like laggier games because it's constantly connecting you to different servers across the like across the states. And if you don't have the best connection, if you do find that one perfect lobby, okay, now you're gone. Like you can't go back to that lobby anymore. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, that's another new aspect. You're certainly right on that. As far as requeuing and having to hop in, hop out, that could be a bummer for a lot of people too, especially if you had a good game with a great team and they're just
yeah,
gone. I guess you could always find them in recent players tab too, but
that's
um,
true.
other things, I guess we could talk about the game modes because
Okay.
there's a pretty stark difference there. You mentioned some of them earlier, like Fire Team, Dirty Bomb, the VIP Escort mode. I know from Modern Warfare, I thought some of the modes, and again, in Call of Duty, you're always going to have team deathmatch domination. I don't think Ground War is there 100% yet for Black Ops Cold War. Um,
Um, no, that's gonna be Fire Team Dirty Bomb. That's their ground
yep.
war style mode. So yeah,
It's horrible.
yeah.
Other mode differences, I guess you could say, like we said, you're gonna have kill confirmed,
Mhm.
search and destroy. I can't forget to mention that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my go-to. So
there you go. So many others, but I'll say Modern Warfare did a great job of again changing things up. Warzone was already a change of pace. The Gulag implementation was already a change of pace. But seeing different modes in there that really drew players in, at least for me, was impressive to see, especially after everything that Call of Duty franchise has done so far. And for me, biggest addition was the 2v2 gunfight mode, and now 3v3 and sometimes.
yeah.
But seeing that gunfight mode, I loved it. Super small map.
Oh, same.
Yep,
Yeah.
really in your face. Quick, easy. It's dirty. I absolutely loved that mode.
Yeah, same dude. Like yeah, I just like jumping in there with one of my buddies. He's a nurse, so whenever he gets, time to play, we always jump in there. We're super competitive and we're communicating and stuff and yeah, it's super intense and I'm willing to try it again in Cold War to see if it can bring me back in, but yeah, man, I hope they bring back the 3v3 as well because I have a lot of people on my friends list that want to play. So,
Yep. That gunfight mode is just it's great, and I mean they've made some great map additions throughout too. This isn't a game where they're like, here's a new mode, you're stuck with these maps forever. They've done a great job. Infinity Ward has of updating with new maps. They brought some back from the dead, right?
yeah.
So if we're talking about modes here or maps, they brought back, I believe it was Rust,
Hmm.
Shipment, some other Infinity Ward classics as well. They just did a great job of reviving some of those from the dead, and even just giving us some completely brand new ones, right?
Yeah. Um I mean, yeah, who could forget Russ and all the quick scoping battles that took place on that
Chaos.
back in Modern Warfare 2. So I'm glad that they put it back into Modern Warfare 2019. But yeah, yeah, Russ, he just It's frustrating, man. If you if you try to play any mode in Modern Warfare 2019 that involves Rust, like domination or air or anything, just put on your flak jacket so you don't
Yep.
get blown up by the grenades because there's gonna be
That's the
grenades
first thing you
flying
do when you
everywhere.
spawn is chuck a
Y-
frag. That's it.
Yeah, you
That or
have
a
to.
Semtex or whatever. Yep.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Other things as far as maps and modes. Gosh, modes. I'll say I tried Fireteam Dirty Bomb 2.
Yeah.
Didn't it's? I don't want to say it's too complicated. I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot, but it almost is in some aspects. Just not traditional COD objective style where there's
Yeah.
too much going on, and it doesn't
Yes.
always revolve around that one item or whatever it may be, and it spreads things pretty thin. And it's tough to enjoy it for me. I hate running all over a map with no encounters, and some might argue, yeah, that's what Warzone is, right? Sometimes,
Yeah.
but I shouldn't be jumping into a goddamn multiplayer game and having that experience of, okay, I've been running for 5 minutes now and haven't encountered anything.
Right.
I don't know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Fire Team Dirty Bomb. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like Plunder in Warzone. It's kind of their take on it. I think you have tanks in there. You have choppers and stuff like that that you can take around. It might be. I don't know if it's a kill streak or not, but yeah, it's just not something that I'm interested in because that whole it's similar to Warzone aspect, like where you get shot in the back or it's just too much going on at one time. You can't really control your surroundings like you do in a 6v6 map. Like, okay, I have this lane locked down. Nobody's coming
Right.
down to flank me. That's just gone. And I know some people like that aspect, kind of sandbox style gameplay, but it's not for me, unfortunately. But yeah, I just hope that they, I don't know, maybe get some better maps in there or just I know they have like the respawn mechanic where you have to wait like 20 seconds. Maybe they can like tone it down a little bit or maybe not parachute directly over the players that killed you because that's another major issue. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know
I mean,
if you
that's like
experienced
the
that.
first thing every map I've had, so map experience I've had so far in Fireteam Dirty Bomb is somebody dropping
Yeah,
on your head like out of nowhere.
yeah.
You're just like,
It's like you kill them and then you got to just look up because they're gonna be coming down pretty soon. Just look up because yeah, here they yeah. It's no, it's not for me because yeah, just there's no control, there's no flow. And yeah, I don't know how quickly you rank up in that game mode, but I can't imagine it's anything to write home about. So
Yeah. Other things too, as far as maps and modes, because those two, I mean, you can't really talk about one without having the other.
right,
The implementation of, I think, how domination is set up on some maps, how team deathmatch spawns are always, it seems like an issue right out of the gate for a lot of COD
yeah,
games, which is to be expected anymore.
yeah,
What
pretty
do you
much.
think? What do you think about
Uh,
the map differences between these two? If you're looking at Modern Warfare and then Cold War Black Ops. I mean, or Black Ops Cold War. There's not, I'd say, any major differences, but it's enough for me to,
I think so.
have a difference of opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in Cold War, I think we've kind of gone back to that traditional three-lane style map design, which is what people really like. And personally, I do like it as well. I don't know if you know some of the maps on Modern Warfare. There's just like 10 different lanes, and if you go in the crossroads, you're gonna die because somebody's watching that lane. So I do prefer the three-lane map style, and they've definitely brought some of that back with maps like I would say Cartel is definitely a three-lane style map. Miami probably a little bit less so, but yeah, Miami is just probably one of the worst out of the bunch, for me at least. Just kind of hard to see people. It's hard to pick up targets, and when you do, they're probably on the beach somewhere sniping you. So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's what, if we're breaking down the Miami Max, that seems to be one of the more popular ones right now.
yeah,
So we can dissect that. I mean, you've got the beach area, right? You've got the little hotel strip next to that pool.
yeah,
You've got that wide open courtyard, a couple of back alleys on different sides of the map, and then a couple of open streets. Um, I mean, I guess that map can really cater to all play styles in some ways. Especially for
yeah.
snipers in an open courtyard.
Oh
If
God,
you're a running gunner with submachine guns, you can always scour between the hotels. But other than that, I mean, you're dead if you try to go to the beach or
yeah. It's
Um,
it's a gorgeous map planted on PlayStation 5 with the ray tracing turned on and everything. It's beautiful. I say my only issue with that is I don't know if some people ran into this, but on the beach it's super hard to see people. I don't know what they can do with the lighting on that side, but it's just so dark on my screen. I have to turn up my brightness every time I play that map because it's just like I can't see on the beach. Like there's just so many dark areas. Maybe it's my monitor settings or something, but yeah, just the lighting in that game. Like it looks good. Like when you're by the cop cars and stuff, you see like the red and blue flashing, the reflections. That looks great. But there's some dark areas in that map that just kind of ruin it for me.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on maps. I mean, there's Cartel out there. There's a bunch of others. I shouldn't say a
Um.
bunch, but
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. Like I said,
Those are the
it's
two that are most prominent, at least that I see in my rotation. No matter what game I'm
yeah.
playing.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, those are like the traditional 3 lane maps, and I honestly don't see what people are talking about with the kind of grass area on Cartel with the B flag. Like, I could see people just fine. Like, why is everybody complaining about the grass and stuff like that? Like, yeah, just don't go over there. Just look over there. If you see somebody, take them out. Don't run in the grass chasing them. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've heard people calling to shorten the grass a little bit, like trim it, but just
That
don't.
must be a
Yeah.
console thing because on PC, I mean, you've always got the option in graphic settings to turn up or down the foliage, or just turn it
Yeah,
off completely.
yeah,
Some use that to an advantage where there's no trees, very slim bushes,
yeah.
things like that. And I mean, that might be cheating in some aspects, but
There's a
hey.
ton of options on PC to do that. That's why I'm not a big fan of. I'm a big fan of crossplay, but just not with PC players because they have so much. They have so many options that they can tune. Whether it's the frame rate or the field of view, or like you say with the foliage. Yeah, that's like huge. You're just deleting parts of the game. So
Right. Yeah, that's
it's
a
crazy.
fair assessment. I'll say I'm one of those that like to prey on the weak in that aspect, where every time I see
Yeah.
just a ton of controllers pop up in the lobby, I'm like,
uh,
yes.
yeah. Lambs for the slaughter, right?
Lambs to the slaughter. That's right. Get the kill streaks ready, ladies and gentlemen. Crank them up a
There you go.
bit.
um,
Speaking of, I guess we could talk about that, the kill streaks, right?
yeah,
Some big differences there. Now we're far beyond the days of, not to throw out World of War again, but the days of, the typical 3, 5, 7 kill
7.
streak you saw back on OG Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare,
Yep.
where you had the UAV, the airstrike, and then a
UAV.
chopper.
Yep.
Those days are gone. Where there's so many different kill streaks now. You used to have
Sadly.
cool things like dogs or artillery,
Yes. Yes.
drones, attack chopper. I mean, they've been pretty creative with a lot of these too. The nuke, who can forget that?
The EMP in Modern Warfare 2, like,
Oh
dude,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. There's a bunch. I mean, what do you think about the kill streak differences between these two games? A lot of
Lackluster.
what's that?
Lackluster. Sorry.
Lackluster.
Lackluster.
Do
Um,
tell.
Yeah, I just think they need so many more kill streaks, and then the ones that they have now, like they work, but I just don't like the whole score streak system. Like, can we? It's why does everybody get the option to so they have this design choice where they chose to not reset your score or your kill streak when you die. So everyone,
Yep.
these kill streaks are just happening like passively for you. Like you're not actively going for kill streaks. You're just more like along for the ride. So I have 5 minutes later I have a UAV, and 2 minutes later I have a chopper gun. Like you're not really like contributing to that. You're just playing the game, and things just happen.
Yeah, you're passively acquiring XP for the new score streaks you see in Cold War.
Yeah,
Whereas in Modern Warfare, you had to earn kills, and obviously, the higher you climbed, the better kill streak you got in that life, right?
they're just missing. Like that's what Call of Duty is the kill streak. It's working towards that, and being better than the other players and showing your work for that, and that's pretty much gone now. Like okay, cool, I got 5 kills, I get a predator missile now. That's kind of gone. Like it's just passive, and I don't really like that. It's definitely geared to more casual players to get them the chopper gun and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I definitely see a lot more of the higher tier kill streaks, like like you said, chopper gunner, tac chopper, other things like that too, airstrikes, whatever it
yeah,
may be.
yeah.
I see a lot more of those showing up, and there's a lot of times where I'll go to activate one of those kill streaks, and I think more in this game than in other COD games, I get the the notification of like airspace is too crowded or something to
Yes.
that effect. And I'm just like, God damn, dude. Like I have to wait on all these other dudes because now everybody gets these kill streaks or score
Yes.
streaks, whatever you want to
It's
call them.
so annoying, man. Yeah, I don't like what they did with that. Yeah, because like you say, you have to wait to call your kill streak in, and that happened maybe once in the blue moon on other CODs. But yeah, now it's pretty much every game. If somebody has the same kill streak as you pretty much will have to wait, especially if it's something long like a attack chopper or something. That
Yeah.
thing lasts forever. So yeah, good luck calling that in.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Other things too. Gosh, as far as big differences here, the HUD. I know
Yeah,
it's not something people talk about a whole lot.
yeah.
As far as the display there, what in your mind were some of the bigger differences between these two? I'll say I really didn't like the placement, and this is again just such a small non-issue for a lot of people, but it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Is having a health bar over an enemy's head in a multiplayer game. Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
some like that, some don't. I'm one of those. I hate to see it.
yeah. I I think it helps sometimes, like, if you think you're really close to killing somebody and you see that health bar, and a lot of times I really want to know how much health that enemy did have. So I do like that in some aspect. I'm pretty sure you can turn it off, right? Is that an
Yeah,
option?
you can. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so it's not a big deal, but I do prefer it just so I can see that I'm actually doing damage to that player, because a lot of times in these COD games you have what I call ghost bullets, where the bullets are just passing through
you're
your
like, what
enemies.
is this? How is this possible?
Yeah, so I like to see that I'm actually hitting my target. Like, I know you have the hit markers and stuff, but I want to see that health bar too. I think the HUD, the the HUD is kind of it's okay. Like, it's definitely thematic in the fact that it's like kind of like the 80s style. Like, you have more just like simple colors like red and blue, or like black and white.
True.
It's kind of that aspect, but that just doesn't feel next gen to me. That, they are doing it like thematically, but it just doesn't feel like a next gen kind of game, and I think it kind of suffers from that.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Jeez.
Yeah,
Other things to note on that. I guess we could dive into the guns.
yeah,
Obviously, the players feel pretty passionate in a lot of different ways about this one.
yeah.
So I'd say at the time when Modern Warfare launched, we had about, and right now we've got more, but at the time we had about 35 at launch. Black Ops Cold War 29.
Hmm.
So again, some pretty stark differences there. Not huge, but just enough. Both of them kept having 5 attachments as an option, which was great. You
Yeah.
still have the level up XP per gun, not based on your class XP, which is great. It's just a lot to go into with these guns, I guess.
Yes.
What are some of your preferences, Trey?
Um, well, yeah, like you said, they have the 5 attachments now, but now you can do 8 attachments, which is crazy.
It's
So you
true.
can kind of just build this kind of decked out gun, which, for me, that's always interesting to see what kind of different combinations I can get. But this time around, it's not as exciting as how Modern Warfare did it. There are pure bonus attachments that you can have for Cold War. So I kind of just tend to stick with those, because, like, why would you want to ruin your gun in any other aspect?
Right.
Whereas Modern Warfare, like, yeah, you do have those negative impacts on your gun, but I feel like those are more, I don't know, they're just more clear. Probably, like, the trade-offs are a lot more clear in Modern Warfare. Like, it's listed in Cold War, but I just don't tend to feel it as much. Like, if they say, oh, your aim down sight time is being decreased by like 20%, like, I don't know, I feel like that was a little bit more clear in Modern Warfare rather than Cold War in my aspect.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this, I guess, because the stats for the guns to me feel a little bit different.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just missing something completely, but in Modern Warfare, I feel like you see a lot more of the hard statistics for a gun.
Yeah.
Whether that's obviously rate of fire is a big one,
Yes.
mobility. A couple of those I notice are missing.
Mm.
And I don't have them on the top of my head here, but I do see some elements in there missing where, I'm like, what the fuck is that? I know if I change this attachment in Modern Warfare that I'd see the impact of it. Whereas if I do it in Black Ops Cold War, that's not the case.
Yeah,
Or
like
at least
some of
not
the
in,
barrels like are different. Like if you put a barrel on your gun in Modern Warfare, that changes the gun completely. Like, it'll have like more kick or something like that. And yeah,
yep.
some of that's missing in a way that I'm not expecting it that it was in Cold War. Like, it's just not the same for me. So
Yeah, right now I'd say as far as the overall feel of things, I mean, if you're familiar with Call of Duty at this point, you know what it's like to pick up an AR. Obviously
yeah,
there's differences between like the FAL semi-automatics and then the M4 carbines where you know what you're doing there. As far as the overall feel between like the ARs, the SMGs, the LMGs, snipers, I feel like Modern Warfare does all of these better.
hmm,
And I honestly I tried different play styles in Black Ops Cold War just to see if maybe it catered to different guns, different and different styles, whatever that case may be. But I like, for example, I'm more of an AR SMG guy. And Black Ops Cold War, when I realized I didn't like that, I'd say, well, fuck it, I'll just try a sniper and see if maybe that just clicks better in this game. None
right,
of them clicked for me. None of them had a great feel about them.
Yes.
that made me love it and want to use it more. I found myself switching constantly, and maybe that's detrimental to my opinion of the game, but I found myself switching constantly in order to go out there and try to at least have a better KD and win a goddamn game, right? It's tough. Weapons are tough this time around.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat where I tried many guns, and a few of them were kind of clicked with me a little bit, like the Type 63. It's a
Yep.
semi-automatic rifle. That one's pretty strong. I kind of like that one, but when I go to the sniper rifles, like it, once you use the AX-50 in Modern Warfare, like nothing else kind of compares to it, man. Like there's no sniper in Cold War that feels like an AX-50 in in your hands. In Modern Warfare, I use the AX-50 with like a short style barrel, and I know where the one hit kill zone is on their body. So if I shoot, maybe like torso up, I know I'm gonna get a one shot kill.
Right.
I just haven't had a weapon or a sniper that can compare it to that for me in Cold War, and maybe down the line they add more DLC weapons, which that's definitely why there's not that many guns in the game now. Is they're holding it back for the battle pass, but yeah, just some guns just didn't really connect with me. The AK just doesn't feel like an AK. The sound is horrible. That should never sound like that. I shot an AK in real life. That gun does not sound anything close to what they have in Cold War. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
it's odd to see how guns have translated this time around.
yeah,
I've noticed a couple other differences too. The rate of fire option that you have for essentially pretty much every gun in Modern Warfare, the ability to toggle between single shot, triple shot, burst,
yeah,
and then fully automatic. This time around, that's missing on a lot of guns out of the gate.
yeah.
I think of even like the AK, right? You can't toggle between semi-auto and just full auto on that, can
Really,
you?
I never noticed. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, maybe some just keep it there. But I noticed that right out of the gate. I was like, "What the fuck?" Because usually
hmm.
when I'm firing long range, I'm going to put it on single shot and toggle
Yeah,
that.
of course. Yeah,
Whereas if I'm up close, maybe even medium range, I'm definitely going to be spraying for my life.
right.
And I noticed that option is missing on a lot of guns this time around. And I'm like, is that going to be added later? Why is that
Mm,
gone? I get it. Again, we're back in the previous eras of years, if we're talking about years, right, 50s,
right.
60s, 70s, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But goddamn, like if Modern Warfare could do it and give you that option, hello.
It just goes back to the fact that Treyarch has always been the kind of arcade style shooter, and when you start introducing things like select fire, it just kind of takes it away from arcade and makes it a little bit more realistic. So that's why you don't see it, and I don't think you will see it. Maybe you might see it on a few DLC guns, because those are always they come after launch, so uh people can give feedback to the developers like you. Like you might say, hey, can we get a burst fire or like a select fire kind of gun in the game? And they might add that later on. But yeah, this has always been that. I would say Treyarch has always been that kind of arcade style shooter that people like, but not me so much. So yeah.
Other things too, perks. Any key differences for you there? I don't think there's anything that's as stark of a difference between having Juggernaut and not having Juggernaut back in the day, right? And not to keep
Um,
bringing up the older CODs,
yeah.
but
Well, they're the best. So
yeah, exactly. But if you're looking at these two games and you're looking
yeah,
at the perks, were there any major changes for you at least that you
yeah.
noticed that just felt maybe more overused or not enough or anywhere in
Um,
between?
Ghost is a crutch, because now Ghost, I think the way it works now is you don't have to be moving to wait. I get them mixed up. I think you don't have to be moving now in Cold War. Rather than Modern Warfare, I think you had to be on the move. I might have those two switched.
I think it is switched. Yeah.
It's so yeah. So Modern Warfare, you had to, so you could be still, you could be in a corner and not move, right?
Right. Right.
Oh, okay, maybe yeah.
Or
So maybe
sorry,
I'm
maybe
wrong.
I've
That was
maybe I've got that mixed up. Yeah,
I,
because I know that's such a new mechanic.
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna lean towards the fact that I'm gonna lean to the fact that I think it's more of you don't have to be moving. I think that's kind of more like the campy style gameplay.
Yep.
Ghost is kind of a crutch now in Cold War. I might be wrong. If I am wrong, just call me out and the next podcast. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I think Ghost is definitely a crutch. they have a new perk called Spycraft, where it kind of like
Yep.
extends your mini map to see more of uh pretty much the whole map. It was like a 6v6 map, and I thought that was pretty interesting to use. I don't know if that's gonna take a spot over like a flak jacket or anything like that for me, but it's definitely there's definitely some interesting perks in the game that definitely shake things up. So
Yeah, and as far as other aspects of the multiplayer, if you're looking at guns and classes and loadouts, you're always going to have your lethals, your tactical slots, your field
yeah,
upgrades, and things like that. Now those seem to be pretty much staples at this point. To me, at least, there weren't any mega differences there. You've always got your fragmentation grenade if you want it.
yeah.
Semtexes, those key things are still there. Not a whole lot of major changes worth noting.
Stem shot is also a crutch tactical to
Yes.
use. Like if you're not running, if you so you like to run and gun, so yeah, you gotta have stem on every class.
Yep.
I would say also yeah, so yeah, with stem, it's on a cooldown, so that's new. It's not like Modern Warfare where
And
you
what
have
is
like
STEM for the people that don't know, by the way?
stem is short for stem shot. That's basically where you get to regen your health pretty much not instantly, but it regens a lot faster than it does just on its own. So you hit L1 or LB on your triggers and or sorry on your controller, and yeah, you just regen health. Um, really it's really effective for people who like to run and gun, and yeah, it's a crutch perk that I think it started in maybe Black Ops 4, and every Call of Duty since then has had some kind of version of stem shot. So
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Any other thoughts on multiplayer? And again, I know we could go deeper on this. It's just one of those things where I'd imagine here in the next few weeks, even with that season one finally coming out for Cold War, we're probably going to see some radical changes. At least I would hope.
yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts on the multiplayer differences between Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War?
um yeah, I mean, I would say maybe one thing they should think about adding that's not in Cold War that is in Modern Warfare is maybe introduce like specialists kind of thing. Specialists
Yes.
is where you can pretty much you can get perks instead of score streaks or kill streaks, and just adding more variety to the game is what they need because right now it's kind of stale. Everyone's doing the same thing, with their kill streaks and stuff like that. Sorry, score streaks. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just hope down the line they kind of just improve multiplayer along the way because it definitely needed more time in the oven. It's way too early to have this game out, but here we are. So
Yeah, I'll echo some of that before we dive into campaign and the zombies mode, which are, I guess we can go in differences on campaign and then, zombies is its own thing, right?
yeah,
But if I'm looking at these two games, and again, I know it's hard to, if we were going to compare the differences between these two games at launch, maybe it might be a little bit of a different conversation. But if you're somebody out there
right,
that's looking to buy these games right now, you don't give a shit about what the game looked like at launch for Modern Warfare because you're not playing it at launch. You're playing it a year later, and that's where we're at. You
right,
care about the present if you're putting down that $70. So for me, looking at these two, um, hard call. If you're somebody that's a huge Black Ops fan, you just love the Treyarch style of gameplay, you might like this, but I can tell you as one of those that has been a pretty diehard Treyarch in the past, I do not. I'm sticking probably this time around for the first time, even though I own both. They've already got my money, so goddamn you, Activision. But I'm gonna stick with Modern Warfare this time around, at least for the multiplayer.
yeah,
And we'll see what Warzone holds. I know it's going to be a combination, but talking on the campaign a little bit, I mean, I've played through both of these now. I'll say I got a clear preference over Modern Warfare on this one.
yes,
They're both again the same shooting gallery style, action packed. You know and love some of the characters that are in here. Some you don't even care about, and you're just like, all right, get me to the next goddamn shooting gallery, so I can get these explosions packed in there and all this other fun stuff, and maybe slide off a cliff, whatever it may be.
right.
But any thoughts on the campaign differences between these two? Because I feel like we're at that point in the Call of Duty world where people are probably buying this a little bit more for the multiplayer Warzone aspects than they are for the campaign. It's weird to say that the single player campaign side of the Call of Duty franchise is fading.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually one of those people who enjoy campaign, the various campaigns in Call of Duty. So yeah, I was excited to jump back into the Black Ops franchise. I think this story picks up after Black Ops 1, I believe. So
Yep.
You know, we're talking early 80s, and then they kind of do a couple flashbacks to Vietnam. But yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, Cold War is like kind of like the Michael Bay kind of action flick that you expect, you know, over the top set pieces and Jeep chases with you shooting grenade launchers and stuff like that. Like that's kind of more what we would expect from Call of Duty. Me personally, I prefer the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign because that's more of like realistic and it's based off true events like the Benghazi event.
Yep.
That was I don't even know how to describe it. That was like it was just mind blowing to play something like that and just to be in that environment, that they made so realistic back then. And yeah, I mean, they really don't compare. Like you have your Hollywood action flick versus real life boots on the ground, true events, things like that. So, um, yeah, I did enjoy the Black Ops campaign, but it just doesn't hold a candle to Modern Warfare.
Yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth, Trey. As far as
Yeah,
boots on the ground,
yeah,
I love that aspect about multiplayer games so much more. I'm not really about the flashy, crazy, super wild design on on some of those games, but
yeah,
especially with COD. And
yeah,
this time around, more boots on the ground, like you said, in campaign. You're going to recognize some of the characters in there. I think you're going to love some of the mission structures that are out there too.
oh yeah,
You've got that typical Infinity Ward style of you've got the action packed areas where you've also got the slow, stealthy, creeping through a house with your laser with night vision goggles on modes.
yeah,
So it's pretty stark differences there again. Whereas Black Ops Cold War is really, you got some of that too, but not as much. And it's a lot more, like you said, action packed, Michael Bay, Hollywood style, I guess if you want to
yeah,
call it that. When
yeah.
in the series, Trey, did you, because this used to be such a thing where if you would go out, you get the game at midnight release and
Mhm.
you go home, you fired it up. What's the first thing you play? Campaign or multiplayer?
Campaign,
You
no
still do
question.
campaign?
Campaign. Yep.
Wow.
It's it is a tradition because it kind of gets you into the groove of the new Call of Duty game. Like, you get to feel the mechanics, feel how everything works. I just can't jump into multiplayer right off the bat because, it's a brand new game. Maybe you can argue that since we played the beta and the alpha for Cold War, that we already know what it's like. So in that aspect, you could jump into multiplayer on day one, but still, for me, I gotta jump into the campaign. I gotta feel how the developers intended the controls to be in an offline environment. Because online, you're introducing so many different factors like lag and just network issues on top of network issues. So I
That's
want to
a
experience the game in a natural aspect.
That's
So
a cool perspective because I'm one of those where I switched somewhere along the way.
yeah,
I want to say it was probably Black Ops 2 was the first time I mean, I still remember it. I don't know why that was such an incremental thing. Like you said, it's important to get that offline experience first and just, not have it adulterated. I don't want my first experience to be getting into a game and getting my ass kicked online, right? You don't
yeah.
want that to be the first taste in your mouth. But somewhere along the way, I think it was Black Ops 2 is when I switched from the mindset of, all right, I need to fire up campaign first. That was when I actually fired up the multiplayer first,
Mm.
and really just dove into it that way. And it's interesting to see where people go that route when we do have campaigns to play on some of these games.
Well, I guess the only game where I was forced to play multiplayer first was Black Ops 4 because there was no campaign.
That's why that
So
game pissed you off so much.
yeah, I mean they had those little like story missions for each character, but I didn't want to play that. I want to play a full length experience, but yeah, yeah, you picked Black Ops 2 to jump off into the multiplayer first, and I mean, I guess you picked the good one because people really like that one. So
Yep,
yeah,
there it is.
but I will say on the campaign, if you are a fan of the Modern Warfare franchise, I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but there is a little bit of a tie-in to the Modern Warfare series in the Call of Duty Cold War campaign. So if you are
Yes.
curious about that, just might want to check out Cold War just for that aspect.
Yep, and these campaigns both run about 8-10 hours somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure. I'd say the Cold War side is a little bit shorter. At least it felt like.
I think it is shorter. There are a good variety of missions in there, but yeah, I think this is definitely one of the shorter campaigns that you can probably finish in a couple hours.
Yeah,
So
it's a quick campaign.
yeah.
And then I guess we could talk now about the zombies because obviously um, this time around there's not a major player out there for Infinity Ward for zombies, so we just can't talk on that. But from the Treyarch perspective, right, zombies has changed and evolved so much over the years with Treyarch.
Yes. Yes.
Things have changed since the days of Kino der Toten. Back on World at War, where you were getting to do that for the first time around, was
Hmm.
very simple. Introduced a lot of new play styles and mechanics into, really the overall franchise.
Yeah.
So looking at it where it's at right now, coming out Black Ops Cold War, and I'll be honest, even before I started playing the beta for multiplayer for Cold War, I was more hyped about zombies than anything else by far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and this time around, zombies, I guess we could just dive right into it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on how it is in its present state and how it compares to previous zombie entries in the series.
Well, let me give you a little perspective so you know where I'm coming from. I am a OG day one Call of Duty Zombies player. Like I started on World at War with Nach der Untoten. Like I've been with the franchise since its inception. And yeah, jumping into Cold War, it's just they've done some things to zombies that, it definitely shakes things up as far as like the meta of how you kill zombies. But at the same time, for me, it's kind of a tough experience to get into because I don't know if these I don't know if you experienced this, but on PS5 we're constantly crashing, so it's kind of hard to give a full perspective as to how the zombies are because the game crashes.
I
But
got all the way to
you know,
like I think it was like one of the later rounds, and it was right before the helicopter was going to come up, and it crashed on me. And God, that was my
yeah.
first game ever in
Oh my
zombies, and
God.
man, I was pissed.
Yeah. Was that on PS5 or PC?
That was PC, yeah, and I can overlook that too. Networking issues. I mean, that's I can't really call it as part of the game. They'll iron that out eventually.
Yeah.
But still, yikes.
It was yeah. So apart from the crashes, it when you jump into it, I recommend you jump into it solo. Don't play with three random players first. Jump into it solo.
Don't
Experience.
ever start that game with random players. My God, you'll be disappointed.
Yes, just experience the new Cold War map for yourself because it got scary at times, and that's kind of what I love about zombies is the fact that you can still get a little bit of a jump scare from time to time. So but yeah, they've definitely made some changes. Now you have zombies with health bars, and you have this boss zombie that splits into multiple zombies, and
Yep.
they brought the dogs back. I hate the dogs
The
so much. I wish
Hellhounds, yes.
the hellhounds now they're these plague hounds, so they kind of like drop this like acid stuff everywhere and super annoying. I'd rather have regular old Samantha dogs back now, but we're not getting that, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying as far as the blend of horror and action that game
Yeah.
used to give you, I thought this one nailed pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll say overall, I do like zombies this time around.
Yeah.
But there are some things that I kind of wish we either weren't there or were improved.
Yeah.
I'll say, God damn it, it's 2020's new zombies mode. There's only one fucking map. It is
Yeah.
not the biggest map. I mean, it's big and it's got a lot to do in it, but
It's a decent
what the
size.
fuck? One map? Come on. Like,
It's like if you put mm, maybe you put like three Doris maps together, maybe it's about that size, and then
yep.
they have like an underground section too. So it's a decent size, but you can definitely run around it pretty quickly if you're running away from zombies. So
Yeah, it's interesting to see how big and small it is in some areas because you've got your wide open spaces this time around, which is pretty new to the zombie series.
yeah, it
That
makes
little
it.
that area,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sure everybody's. Oh, sorry, that area. I'm
Yeah,
sure everybody's seen it by now with the plane that's sticking up out of the ground.
yeah,
You got that wide open area, but you've also got your little tunnels, your corridors, and staircases and really tight spots where things can go haywire pretty quick.
it's yeah, that open area makes it really easy to train zombies. That's more my play style. I just round them all up and then just throw a grenade or shoot them. It's easier in that aspect. So but I will say one thing about the zombies is me being an OG veteran zombie player, like the zombies this time around, they're easier, but at the same time, they're a little bit more of a threat. And but what I mean by that is like in the old COD, sorry, in old zombie games, there's just times when the zombies kind of like they just double smack you, and that's not really in this game. So they're not really
Yep.
much of a threat. Like you can get close to them and kind of back away, and it's easier to dodge them now. But what made COD Zombies fun for me is the fact that they were so deadly, and now you have Jug and armor and stuff like that, so you can kind of take more hits and it's kind of taking that difficulty factor out of it for me.
Yeah, and you've always had, I think it's called Juggernog, correct?
Yeah,
To some
Juggernaut. Yeah,
extent in there.
yeah,
I think you're right though. It does feel like the reach of these zombies is down a little, and you can weave in and out of them a lot easier than you could in the
yeah,
past. Which I mean, to me, again, makes them, like you said, less scary, less lethal.
yeah, yeah,
It gives me more room to breathe in some senses.
yeah.
I'll say the graphics this time around. I thought, holy shit, this is the best part about the game. It absolutely
Hmm.
nails the graphics.
Hmm.
It's level of gore and detail in these zombies. Some with things hanging off of them or
Yeah,
other things like that. It is just absolutely mind blowing the amount of detail they put into some of these character models. So
yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, the zombies look incredible. I do say, like, if you do get it on PS5, maybe turn off ray tracing because you'll start dropping frames, if you have ray tracing on.
true.
But yeah, like the environment that they've crafted, with the combination of the knock dirt and totem map, that all looks incredible. Like when it's kind of dark and you have your flashlight and stuff, like everything just kind of pops, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, gosh,
yeah,
other things to note too. Some of the, I mean, there's buying stations, right? They brought back
yeah.
that crate, the infamous $950 to go out and get a
Oh,
random item or
the
gun
mystery box, yeah.
mystery box. Yep.
Yep. I
Other. Oh, sorry.
oh no, I was gonna say, yeah. So you don't really need to hit the mystery box, in my opinion. Like, yeah, there's good guns in there, but with this time around in Cold War, you start off with your own weapon, so you can put all your attachments on a shotgun or something or an assault rifle, and there's tiers of damage that you can go through. Like, you have your level one assault rifle, and it only does damage up to a certain point, and then you can upgrade it as you go along. So the mystery box is kind of its own thing now. I guess if you want to get the ray gun, that's in the box. But me, I don't like the ray gun. So
Yeah, it's pretty OP. Gosh, I mean, other things about zombies. So much that it's not really different. There's a lot of improvements, but there are some differences. What would you say are some of the biggest differences outside of just the overall feel and the ease of it this time around?
one of the biggest differences for me is the perks. So
Yes.
we have upgradable perks now for the first time, and that's kind of like, what? Like, we get upgraded Jug? Like, yeah. So for example, yeah, for Jug, when you get Juggernaut, you have I think it boosts your health by 50 points, so now you're up to 200. But
Yep.
uh, as you go along, you get these kind of ether crystals. You can upgrade Jug to where you can have up to 250 points of health. So that's definitely new. And there's 6 perks in the game. You can get them all now. Like, there's no 4 perk limit like there was back in the day. That definitely changes the flow of zombies because now you can kind of be decked out with all these perks. You got to choose between quick revive and Jug, and other perks like that. So they definitely changed it up in that aspect.
Do you feel like that's overcomplicated zombies for some players? Because maybe, again, this is just me being an idiot, but I almost feel like it's grown to the point where it's really hard to understand a lot of these aspects if you're a
Oh yeah.
newer player to the series.
Oh yeah.
Whereas even this one, I found myself Googling and YouTubing a lot of like,
Uh,
how the fuck does this work? Where do I go from here? Like, what is this, weird disco dance breakdown thing that's happening halfway through the map, which, if you play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. But
yeah.
um, do you feel like that kind of overcomplicates what zombies used to be, or is that a good thing to see it evolve and have more depth to it?
Yeah, zombies is definitely more in depth now. Like, it's harder to jump into it now if you don't know, or if you never play zombies that much. Like, it's harder to jump into just because there's so much going on, as far as, like, keeping track with. They have a salvage system in the game now. You get to pick up these like salvage credits. There's upgradable perks and different tiers of damage for your weapon, and the grenades. Now you pick up grenades off of zombies, so zombies are dropping things that you can pick up.
Yeah.
Their armor plates, like, it's so much. It's so different than what a traditional zombie player is used to. You got your 4 perks, and you run around the map. You turn on your teleporters. This and that. It's not that. It's definitely evolved over time in a. I, I would say it's in a good way that they've made it more in depth. But yeah, if you're jumping in, just maybe look up a guide or two, or just bring a friend along that knows something about zombies, because you're gonna be confused if you've never jumped into this new Treyarch style of zombies.
Yeah, I'll say even being a veteran, there were times in this one where even playing with just online randoms, I was completely lost.
Yeah,
Or I was playing with friends where they had, been pretty far into the extraction mode or endless mode, either one, and they're still like, "What the hell does this do?"
yeah,
It seems like something keeps creeping up that we're not aware of every single time, but maybe that's a good thing again for the depth. So,
yeah. I mean,
any other? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So like I haven't done the Easter egg yet, but there is an Easter egg in the game that I heard is pretty easy to complete. So if you're looking down that aspect, for like secrets and stuff, there are secrets and stuff for you to go through in the game. There's like a buildable wonder weapon in the game that's somewhat easy to do. So yeah, like there's just so much depth into zombies now that I think most players will find it interesting enough to give it a shot.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. It's my favorite aspect of the new Call of Duty, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, I guess I will say one more thing. I would I would say that I'm hoping that they just continue to maybe bring back some like reimagine older maps like they kind of did with this map here. They kind of have a little bit of knocked in there, which was always nostalgic for me to play. But hopefully they
yep.
bring back like Derice or Kino or something like that and kind of reimagine it, make it a little bit bigger. And yeah, that's gonna bring me back into the game because right now it's kind of on the chopping block if they don't they don't bring me some good zombie stuff, man. Come
Give me
on.
what I want. Yeah,
Yes.
I think you're right about that, and it's interesting to see them bringing back some of these more regularly now. For I mean, you've got like kind of separately, I guess, spinning off into Call of Duty franchise here, but you've got the re-releases and remasters of some of the older entries in the series. But while you've got these new ones out with Modern Warfare and Cold War Black Ops, you also see like with Modern Warfare where they've brought out the oldies like Rust, Shipment. They keep bringing back some of those older ones. And then on this one, Black Ops Cold War, I guess we should mention they brought back Nuketown again,
Yes,
which
of
is
course.
like the most as OG as it gets as far as favorites for the Treyarch entries in the series. But I wouldn't be surprised if they applied that same concept to zombies too. Why not? Why not bring back the older ones for them?
Fingers crossed, man. Bring me my Derice, please.
Give Trey what he wants.
Yes.
Outside of that, I guess we could touch on the graphics. We haven't really talked about that a whole lot between these two because obviously they're different engines, obviously way
Mhm.
different graphics. What would you say gameplay wise, or maybe not gameplay wise, but just graphically, which one has the better graphics and is most pleasing to the eyes and has the best visuals? Because this
Yeah.
one should technically have the advantage, right? Being next gen and everything.
Mm. Let's just say Modern Warfare 2019 on my PS4 Pro just blows Cold War out of the water on my PS5. Like there's absolutely no comparison. Again, like I said, it's Treyarch going for that more arcadey style shooter feel. So you're gonna have like simpler textures and things like that. But just graphically, Modern Warfare just destroys Cold War in every aspect. Ray tracing or not, 120 frames or not, Modern Warfare just looks better in every aspect. And I think that's partly because it's personal preference because Modern Warfare is kind of like that military shooter. So you have like more grays and browns in your color palette. You have dirtier environments. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I more prefer. But even if you just ignore that, like just looking at them side by side, on old gen hardware, like Modern Warfare just holds it so much higher in my eyes than it does on Cold War.
I'll say on the PC side of things, some smaller differences. It's hard for me to pick an overall. I think they both look great. I think Modern Warfare has a lot of advantages going for it, but there are areas I think where Cold War shines and others where it's really dull, like more dull
Sure.
than it would be expected to be. Like you can tell it's an incomplete game.
Right.
So
Right.
I think of like Miami, where that map has the potential to just look and feel like real 70s 80s vibe Miami. And I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but I'd like to think it wasn't that fucking dark.
You're right.
If that was Miami back then, I know there's some hints and accents of neon and
Yeah.
some purple, some different color palettes out there in different parts of the map. But you've got your snow areas, you've got your jungle areas, yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of variety, right? Some
Right.
desert too, but
Yeah.
overall, it doesn't shine as well. I know there's times
Mm.
where, like, let's say fire drops on the map somewhere out of a kill streak. or there's an explosion and then there's some leftover flames and things like that. I think that's where Black Ops Cold War really shines. I think the flame textures looked incredible, probably better than any other COD out there at the moment, which is a plus. But again, that's not impacting the gameplay or the game itself a whole lot. It's nice to look at, but
Yeah.
um,
I haven't been on
that's
fire, so I can't tell. So
I haven't been roasted in flames yet. I can say I have a few times in Nuketown, and yeah,
right.
that's where I really see it. But
Yeah, I just think yeah, if so yeah, like you say Miami, I just think if it wasn't like completely nighttime, like, if they would have just bring up the sun a little bit, maybe like just almost sunset, I think it would just add a little bit more pop to that map to where there's not many dark areas, and it'll give a nice reflection off some of the textures and stuff like that. They just need to just make it a little bit more sun or something like that.
yeah, some more colors, some more brightness.
Yeah.
And I've tinkered with those settings a lot too on PC, and I'm still just not getting it on a lot of maps. So I'll say even
Hmm.
ones where like the ship map, I'm forgetting it, but the two big ships between each other and you rail between them. Forget
Yeah, I
the
know.
name escapes me right now, but
Yeah.
even
Same.
there, the water looks like shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not horrible water textures, but come on, for next gen, seriously, that's the best we can do.
Right. I will say it does look better on PS5 than it did on PS4 Pro that I played on. Yeah, yeah, it's almost night and day. Like on PS5, it's a lot sharper, the textures, and I think the frame rate holds a lot better on PS5. Like I didn't drop any frames on PS5, whereas on PS4, I constantly felt like I was running maybe at like 50 something frames. Like I can tell the difference, and yeah, the PS5 version just it graphically, I think it's like it holds its own. So if you are considering buying Cold War, don't buy it on last gen because you're gonna be woefully disappointed.
Woefully disappointed, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. So, Trey, any other last thoughts here before we dive into our final verdicts on Modern Warfare versus Black Ops Cold War?
Are we giving up final verdicts now, or just
Let's
like
just do it. Yeah, I mean,
okay?
it sounds like, and again, if you're out there and you've listened this far, you probably know where we're going. But
Right.
and
Uh,
again, we really tried on this podcast too to reach out, and we reached out to about 60 people for other differences of opinion, because I didn't just want this to be a session where everybody was in agreement. I want that difference of opinion. Both of us agree on that, but
yeah.
unfortunately, things just weren't able to work out there. But you got some good insight from two really OG veteran COD players,
Hmm.
which hopefully helped make a difference for you, and you enjoyed the conversation. But final verdict for you, Trey.
Okay. So with Cold War, I would say give this game a few more updates, a few more seasons, and I think it'll be good. Now, Modern Warfare 2019, it didn't get like a good substantial update for me until like season 4. That's when I felt like Modern Warfare was like, okay, this is what the game is actually is now. So I think once we get to like maybe April or March, Cold War will definitely have some things ironed out as far as like the balancing issues, the crashes, more content, things like that. So yeah, I mean, apart from skill based matchmaking, I think Cold War will definitely get there, and just wait for a price drop. I think just stick with Modern Warfare if you like Call of Duty for now. Just wait for Cold War to come down in price and get better.
Awesome. All right, appreciate it, Trey. Good to hear your thoughts on that. I'll throw
Yeah.
mine out there for final verdict. If you're one of those where you're like me and you've sunk easily over 100 hours into Modern Warfare's multiplayer, Warzone, and everything in between, and you're kind of on the fence right now either way of dropping that $70, I think I'm in the same boat as Trey as far as wait for a sale. This game, I just cannot justify a $70 spend for it. I wouldn't buy this game for somebody I hate right now, and that's saying something, because man, it's just not a good Call of Duty experience in my opinion. I think it can get there. I think they're going to have to rely on some nostalgia factor, like previous entries in the series have done. They're going to have to bring back some older Treyarch favorites. I think they've already done it out of the gate with launch with Nuketown.
Yeah.
And I think they realize they're going to need to do that to pull some people in for now, because what they have that's new just isn't cutting it for a lot of people. I know there's going to be differences of opinion there, and that's fine. But
Hmm.
again, for me, it is just not clicking. Having been here with COD since the beginning, I'm going to stay with Modern Warfare. I'm going to keep playing Modern Warfare with friends. And hopefully, again, things do transition, like you said, a few seasons into this one where it's worth making the jump for it. But for now, I just can't justify it.
Yeah. I mean, that's all that needs to be said. And yeah, if you disagree with us, please let us know, because I'm ready to debate. Let me know.
Fight. Yeah,
1v1 me.
and that's okay too. Some out there, again, you know, you may be playing Cold War and you're absolutely loving it and thinking, what the hell are these guys talking about? You know, it's fine to have that difference of
Right, right.
opinion.
It does have some good aspects. I'm not gonna lie, but just overall, like, it needs more work. That's all. So
Yep, highly agree, Trey. But
yeah.
well, to wrap this up, Trey, why don't you tell us where we can find you? I know we've given this plug a couple times here in the past, but you know you're a
Sure.
big part of the Game Savers family now. Where else can
Oh
we
man.
find you?
All right. Well, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. My name is TreDog14TK. That's TREDOGG14TK. I do live streams as well as gaming highlight videos and stuff like that. So if you like if you like watching me be silly and joke about games, then yeah, follow me on Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah, you know where to find him, ladies and gentlemen. Again, over on YouTube, that's TreDog14TK, TREDOGG 14TK. Get out there, find Trey. If you love what we're doing here, you're gonna love what Trey's doing over there. So, and we'll be sure to have Trey on again in the future for sure.
Yes,
But
please.
thanks for coming on, Trey. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it. So wrapping this up here, again, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I know we're halfway through December right now. For the rest of 2020, only a few weeks left. We've got 2 more episodes before we jump into 2021, which we will be here for. So for the remainder of 2020, we've got a retro analysis episode still to be determined. Stay tuned for that. We think you're going to like what you see. That game might start with an E and end with a T, so we'll let you figure out what that means. Other than that, as far as other stuff, we're going to have a 2021 wish list. We'll preview some of the games that we know are confirmed to come out in the future, whether it's for 2021 or further out, but at least we've had a teaser, a trailer, something like that. And we'll be sure to go over that information as well, and maybe some wish list items that we think, hey, it would make sense for this game to have a new entry series into the series in 2021. We'll see. But those 2 episodes coming out shortly. Stay tuned for those. You know where to find us on Facebook.com/GameSavers. No matter where you're listening from, I believe we have viewers in 18 countries now, which is just incredible. So again,
Wow.
if you're somebody that's out there listening, whether you're in Asia, South America, Europe, Africa, Australia, it just blows our fucking minds that you're listening from where you do. We really appreciate the support, to see you subscribing and to sharing and everything else like that. And just thanks for being a part of the Game Savers family. We appreciate you. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to save your game.